Hi all of you. Today we are going to discuss about the histology of respiratory system. First of all, I will give an introduction of about it. The respiratory system, which consists of nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, and it continues downward as the trachea, which divides into two principal bronchi, and these principal bronchi which enters into the corresponding right and left lung. You can see in this picture the lung which is divides into separate lobes, the right lung which is divided into three lobes, and the left lung which is divided into two, and these lobes which again divides into segments. And the second picture you can see a color filled segments. Now, you don't want to study about the segments for the histology, you have just want to understand about it. So it divides into lobes, and secondly it divides into segments. Now in this picture you can see the trachea which is divided into two principal bronchi, and already I have said that these principal bronchi which divides into right and left lung. Okay, and this principal bronchi again divides into secondary bronchioles. This secondary bronchiole then subdivides into tertiary bronchus, and this tertiary bronchus which is also called the segmental bronchus because it enters into the each segments of the lobes, each segment of the lobes, and here it subdivides into lobular bronchi, then to the terminal bronchus, again subdivides into respiratory bronchus, and here in the respiratory bronchus you can see some air sacs in that bronchi. On each division there consists of a bulging, you can see in this picture, that is called the air sacs, and the respiratory bronchi which consists of a duct which is called the alveolar duct, and it opens into a sac which is called the alveolar sac, and the space inside which is called the entrance after the alveolar duct, the space which is called the atrium, and here the alveolar sac which consists of alveolus. Moving on to the histological structure of trachea, it consists of four layers. First of all, the mucus, next the submucus, then comes the cartilaginous layer, and the last layer which is called the adventitia. Okay, first of all you can see here in this diagram the mucosa which is formed by a pseudostratified ciliate columnar epithelium and with globulate cell in it and underlying lamina propria. And the next layer is the submucosa layer, which is made up of loose connective tissue which contain mucous glands, serous gland, blood vessel, and the ducts. And here the mucous gland consists of mucosa in which the dust particles get caught, and the serous gland that keep the epithelium moist. They consist of numerous blood vessels and also ducts. Then we have the cartilaginous layer. The next after to the submucous layer you can see here is the hyaline cartilage, and we have already discussed about the hyaline cartilage. Its perichondrium has an outer fibrous and inner chondrogenic layers, and the chondrocytes increases its size from the periphery to its center, and they appear as isogenous group, and it is surrounded by dark staining territorial matrix. And the last layer which is called the adventitia, which consists of collagen fibers. So the layers consist of four layers: mucosa, submucosa, hyaline cartilage layer, and the adventitia, the mucosa, which is lined by pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium with goblet cell and underlying lamina propria, then the submucosa with the loose connective tissue, mucous gland, serous gland, blood vessel and duct, and the hyaline cartilage with its perichondrium with outer fibrous and inner chondrogenic layer, and these chondrocyte which is increases in size move from the periphery to the center, and which appear as isogenic group and surrounded by darkly stained territorial matrix, adventitia containing of collagen fibers. And this picture shows the histological structure of lungs, the section of lungs under the microscope. Here you can see the labeled parts like one. It shows the pleura structure, showing the pleura, the lung surface which is covered by pleura, and it consists of lining a mesothelium rest on the layer of connective tissue. And here you can see the lung parenchyma is made up of numerous thin walled spaces or alveoli. In this picture it is represented as A. You can see a thin walled spaces, and this is called the alveoli, and this is the lung parenchyma, and the alveoli give a honeycomb structure here, and it is lined by flattened squamous epithelial cells, and it is filled with air, and the intrapulmonary bronchus is lined by pseudo-stratified ciliated columnar epithelium with few globular cells like the tracheal structure. You can see here represents the bronchus, and it is lined by ciliated columnar pseudostratified epithelium, and here the bronchiole is lined by simple columnar cuboidal epithelium. Bronchiole, you can see it is represented as B, and it is lined by simple columnar or cuboidal epithelium and surrounded by bundles of smooth muscles. And here in these bronchioles, outside the bronchioles, you can see arteries near them. And the respiratory bronchioles, alveolar duct, and the atrium are also present there. So the respiratory bronchiole, which is represent the number 2, and the alveolar duct is represented by the number 3, and the atrium which represented by the number 4. Okay, and these are the structures you can see here in the histological view or in the microscopic view of the lungs.